It's fucking cold. All right, Piss and Vinegar day 219, 218, one of the two. Shoulders and traps day. Fucking what's going on? So I actually, you know what? I bought a Smith machine, and which I was like so keen about. And you know, it's a funny story because the bloke I bought it from, I was buying it off him for Christmas, and he's just a real fucking fucker, this one. And anyway, yeah, I'll go over to his house. He's like, yeah, mate, you can buy it. Yeah, nah, good stuff. We'll, come around this morning. I'll sell it to you. I wake up like fucking 6 o'clock, like early as shit, because that's the time he wanted me to go there for whatever reason. Because old people wake up early as fuck. They're crooks like that. They got no testosterone to replenish anymore. So anyway, wake up at 6. Hey, mate, I'm coming around soon. Get the fucking Smith machine. He's like, oh, actually, I reckon I'm going to keep it, eh? Sorry. That's it. Don't hear from him again. Fucking fuck off. But then his wife, posted a Facebook ad selling it. It was like, husband doesn't use it, hasn't used it in years. Time to sell it. It's taking up space. So she wears the pants. Anyway, I call up this bloke and I'm like, all right, can I buy it now? And he's like, oh yeah, all right, I guess so. So now I got a Smith machine, which is very cool. But problem is, this arm's nowhere as strong as this arm. So I was really keen to do some overhead press and shit like that. But until I recover this bicep, there's not going to be much I can do with the Smith machine. Maybe some leg stuff. I have some things in plan for next leg day. But other than that, I can't really do much with it yet. But it's a nice Christmas present, or not a Christmas present, but maybe a birthday present. Anyway, what am I doing? Oh, there's a topic I want to talk about today, but I'm going to do this set first. Oh, fuck. Pretty light. A bit more light than I'd like to, but when you're not using two arms to like offset each other's weight, stabilizing one side makes it much harder to get away with much weight. So a bit light, but still decent enough to go to failure with. So a client of mine is a big Bruce Lee fan. The client's pretty cool. As a PT, if any of you guys watching PTs, you know what I mean by this, where you have sort of three different types of clients. You have ones that you just really don't like talking to, or they just don't talk much at all, or you just can't really relate or anything. And it kind of dread training those people, I'll be honest. Then you have somewhere in between where it's clients that are they're like normal people. They're not NPCs, but they're just normal, normal people. And you can get a laugh out of them sometimes or whatever, but they're just maybe not your cup of tea sort of thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with them, but they're not your cup of tea. Then you have clients where you're like, this is my kind of dude, and you just like talking to them. And I've got like 3 or 4 of those clients where I train them and I'm like looking forward to training them. It's like hanging out with a mate. And this one client, we talk a lot about philosophy, and he was talking about Bruce Lee's philosophies. And I kind of remember, because I, for the longest time, kind of didn't like Bruce Lee. And I didn't really have a reason why, or I didn't really know why. And then when he was talking about Bruce Lee's philosophies, I'm like, that kind of makes sense. Bruce Lee's kind of cool. Why don't I like Bruce Lee? And it was actually because it's like Tool, the band Tool, where it's not that you hate the person, you hate the fans, and then you hate the person or the band. So Tool fans are fucking obnoxious, hipster, hippie, DMT smoking, Joe Rogan, archetypical, just fucking... So by proxy hating them, who typically like Tool, I ended up not liking Tool. But then I'm like, nah, actually Tool's a pretty good band. I just don't like those people, and I don't like Maynard. But same thing with Bruce Lee. I'm like, I don't dislike Bruce Lee because of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was the shit. He was just the coolest dude ever. I hate Bruce Lee because of the fans. Fans of Bruce Lee are like always boomers that are like, yeah, oh mate, fucking Bruce Lee, bro, he could take Mike Tyson, like, no problem. Or he could take any UFC bloke, like, fucking, he had that 1-inch punch that stopped your heart and shit. Those kind of people fucked my perception of Bruce Lee. But then I was like, actually, Bruce Lee's kind of cool, but one of the things, I got a fucking long rant there, but more to my point was my client was telling me about Bruce Lee's philosophy on taking the good away from things and then leaving the bad. And I was thinking about this in all kinds of contexts when he talk about this, because I haven't really ever thought of this, but it's a great way of staving off idol worship, because you start worshiping false messiahs and not questioning the shit they say. And if you question the shit they say, sometimes, like, how many times have you maybe looked up to someone or worshipped an idol or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, actually, nah, I fucking don't like this person. Like, you just kind of fall out of it. Like, that's just a trend. Like, for a lot of guys, it was Andrew Tate. Other people, it's Jordan Peterson, whatever. And it's not to say that those people don't have good things to say. It's just that they kind of took them on as like a messiah, and then they realized they're a false messiah, and then they go the opposite way. Rather than listening to someone like that and going, no, he got some decent, quite a lot of decent valid points there. It just so happens that he's hypocritical fucking, cam girl, fucking like Machiavellian scam artist that just so happens to also be talking about things that need to be said. So anyway, point being is I started thinking about all these different things, whether it be bodybuilding, when you're thinking about exercise science and you're like, some things you just have to take the good and bad. You listen to one study and go, that's fucking nonsense. And then you get some other thing that's like so overwhelming, obvious, like progressive overload is required to build muscle and strength. That's an obvious one. You take the good from that study and then disregard anything else that said that was ridiculous, for example, or not logical enough. Or a big one I was thinking about is, I don't know about you guys, but if you have a dad or had a dad like me, where he wasn't necessarily the best staple dad, and you kind of sometimes resent them, when you sit down and think about it, you got to think about the good you can take away from your dad. That was a big thing I did the other day. I was really sat there and thought about the good about my dad. And I've already got a lot of respect for my dad, don't get me wrong. Like, he was an alcoholic, but he wasn't a bad man or anything. He was just totally free, just absolute Dionysian man, had no care in the world, was fearless, just didn't give a fuck, and didn't give enough fucks, clearly. But I was thinking, man, there's something to that part of who he was, though. In many aspects, he wasn't a man, but at the same time, equally, he was like an Ultraman in the sense that he just fucking didn't give a shit. He had no insecurities. He didn't give any fucks, and he wasn't scared of anything. And I was like, man, that's not necessarily the best thing in totality, but there is something to be learned from that. So I took some of the good aspects that I saw in my old man, and then disregarded all the other shit where I was like, all right, but hold on, but that stuff sucks. That stuff sucks, but take the good. So that's a big one, I think, is taking the good out of your old man. That's how, the overall arcing point of this is to talk about taking the good from your old man if you haven't necessarily got the best old man, because they're oftentimes trying their best. And sometimes in an old man or a dad, you can actually find a lot of good if you're willing to look at it. I'll extrapolate after the second set. Oh, fucking. All right, just do a warm-up set with my left arm. Hopefully I can get my left to my right in the next month. What was I saying? Yeah, take away from your good and your old man. There's plenty of experiences where I look back on my old man and go, whoa, that's a pretty exceptional individual. Like, I oftentimes think back on my old man as this kind of like, just, I don't know, very intelligent alcoholic. But then one time, Like, oh, there's a bunch of times actually, but funny story. We're driving, right? My old man was a really small man. He's like 5'6", way smaller than me. And he was fucking hammered probably, but we park into this, what do you call it? Petrol station. And he's, again, probably drunk. And we fucking pull into this petrol station, then he reverses, and all I hear, because he had this old HQ 1970s V8 Ute, which has like rusted metal tray back underneath the tray, and all I hear is, and I'm like, and I elevate, I kind of go up like this, like I'm no longer sitting in my chair normally, I'm like up here, and I look back, and he's probably drunkenly reversed onto the back of some poor bloke's ute or car or whatever. And I'm like, fuck. And my old man, not even battering an eye at this point, just totally chill. Then, and I remember always being scared that my dad couldn't protect me. That's part of why I wanted to get into physical shape, because he was such a small man. I was never so sure if he could protect me and the family. So I was always thinking about getting bigger. I think that's part of my, complex about getting bigger and stronger. And anyway, some bloke gets out of the fucking car, and dude, like, he's got like a VB sticker, which is like basically the flag for what we call bogans in Australia, otherwise seen as a redneck or a gypsy. Dude gets out, neck tattoos, mullet, 6'4", big tan tradie motherfucker, just wiry as shit. And I'm like, great, my old man's gonna die, and I might die. And then, without battering an eye, my old man gets out of the car, walks up to the dude with a big shit-eating grin on his face, puts his hand out, and he just goes, sorry, mate. And that was it. He was just so, and the dude looked angry at first, and my old man just goes up to him, fucking fearless, shakes his hand, and I think because of that just lack of giving a fuck, like didn't care if this dude was gonna kill him or anything, the other dude was just like dumbfounded, and he's like, nah, man, you're right. Like he couldn't, it was something so overwhelmingly charming about this tiny man being so fearless in the eyes of this freakishly large man. And he just went, no, you're right, mate. And my dad starts pulling out cash out of his fucking wallet, because he didn't do cards. He just always had cash, and that was it. And the guy's like, nah, mate, don't worry about it. I'm gonna reverse my car back. Dude gets in his car, reverses it back, screech, you look back, his fucking bonnet is fucked. And that was it though. And I'm like, thought back on that the other day, and I said, I'm a big guy, like I lift weights, I'm 6 foot, I'm not 5'6" like my old man was. If that happened, I was in that scenario, my heart would be pumping, I'd be scared. I don't care, I know how to fight, all those things. Don't give a shit. 6'4" tradie comes out, neck tattoos, wiry, dangerous looking individual. I'm gonna be like, fuck, and probably in a different situation. So yeah, sometimes, like that was one of the things about my old man, he was just fearless. And so I would invite you guys to think about your old man. Maybe you have a great old man, perfect old man, whatever, that's fine. Think about all the good things. But if you have a questionable old man like I did, try to take the Bruce Lee approach and start thinking about the good and try to emulate some of that stuff within reason. Well, not too bad. This is the weight I started with when I was a little kid. When I was like 14, I started lifting weights. This is my first overhead press, I remember distinctly. So this arm is as strong as I was when I was a teenager. Now, a few months ago, it was even weaker. Or a lot weaker. Oh, fuck. Well, good news is it's getting stronger, and good news is my tricep is less of the limitation. And again, don't get me wrong, if there is good points about anyone or your old man, where it can also equally be a negative if taken overboard, like be rational about it. Like there's plenty of stories where equally my old man's fearlessness was fucking stupid. In saying that, I can still respect it because it's just like, you know, out of this world levels of fearlessness. Like fucking, another story, short story is, there was this patch of land between where I used to go to judo as a kid, and it was like a farmland. And for whatever reason, between inland and the beach land that you go to do judo, just pissing down rain all the time. I don't know what it was, but when you drive through this kind of highway, it would just be pissing down half the time. And I remember me and my mum used to go down to this beach town when I do judo, and it would start raining, and my mum would do the mum thing. She'd freak out, you know, park across the road, just like, I can't do this, you can't see anything, it's freaky, whatever. Meanwhile, when my old man would take me, we'd be going, he'd be speeding, he'd be in a V8 fucking HQ, so he's got just this 2-ton fucking no power steering beast of a car going fucking, I don't know, 130 kilometers, you know, 30 over the limit, basically, probably drunk. And sometimes it would start raining and you literally couldn't see anything 2 meters in front of you. And I'd be like, shouldn't we slow down? And he'd be like, nah, mate, we'll be right. Like that was just how it was. And that kind of shit, probably don't want to emulate that. Yeah, if there's a good thing about your old man, like maybe he was pathologically loyal to someone and to the point where it was just detrimental to everybody, then maybe don't emulate that so much. Be loyal, that you know, unwavering loyalty that your old man might have instilled into you, but don't be to the point where it's a detriment perhaps. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. All right, another set, last set. Oh shit. Oh, fuck. Oh. Oh, shit. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Fucking hell. Got a little bit of damage in the shoulder, I think, from wearing that sling for months on end. Didn't agree with my shoulder, but hopefully I can strengthen it up and fix all that. There's still a bit of instability throughout all my joints on my left side just because of the atrophy and everything. Yeah, what was I saying? Dads. Yeah. The other thing is too, like, people oftentimes try their absolute hardest not to be like their old man and then end up being like their old man. I can't necessarily relate that in general. Like, I'm not an alcoholic or I'm not really addicted to anything, and I'm pretty conscious of what other people think of me and all the things that he wasn't necessarily, which again, sometimes isn't the best thing. I would like to give less fucks. But the thing is, I used to be a lot more like him when I was in my early 20s. I just didn't give a fuck, but it was detrimental. And it has to be a fine line. But the thing is, if you avoid certain things of your shadow, not to get all Jungian about this, but if you avoid these things, and part of your shadow or part of your repressed side is something within you that makes you sort of like your father, you can end up being more like him and in the detrimental ways. So you have to sometimes accept some of the things that you might inherit from your parents and understand that they're not necessarily bad things all the time. You just kind of have to look at them and face them and integrate in the shadow, like Jung would say. If you don't know who I'm talking about, then whoops, sorry. But yeah, like for me, I oftentimes think about how there is sort of a vagabond spirit within me where I'm like, part of me wants to just be free and just do whatever the fuck I want and just be like totally, just don't give a fuck and just travel and just like, you know, have no stringency. And I know that's not a good idea to do, but I need to do a little bit of that. Otherwise, I'm just going to explode. And then I might totally just do that. And that is how, again, that's how it could happen, is I become so disciplined and so fucking routine and so, you know, Apollyon that I then flip or whatever, and then I become totally like my father and become an alcoholic or just don't give a fuck or whatever. So I think it's kind of part of how you deal with that sort of shit. If your dad wasn't the best of dads per se, how you deal with that trauma. I don't believe in trauma per se. I really don't. I think it's a fucking stupid way of looking at it, but it's how you deal with it. Best way to explain it is trauma, is by integrating it and seeing the good in potentially some of it. Obviously, if your dad was some fucking molester, whatever the fuck, then this is probably falling on deaf ears, and by no means should you emulate that sort of behavior, obviously. But, you know, if you just had a flawed parents, and in this case talking about dads, then those flaws aren't also always necessarily bad things if done right. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Fuck. Whew. Right. Oh. Fuck. Tell you one thing you don't ever want to integrate, or most of you fuckers probably don't want to integrate, is your father's genetics. One of the best things I've ever heard was Arthur Jones, the grandfather of high intensity, or founder of high intensity training, was someone asked him, how do I become a professional bodybuilder? And without skipping a beat, this motherfucker was like, you got to pick your parents wisely. So a lot of the times when you're like, fuck, why can't I build muscle? Or why can't I be as big as I want to? It's because of your fucking old man, or maybe your mum, but I think it's probably got to do more with your old man. And believe you me, wasn't bestowed the best of muscle building genetics from that fella, or height. But that's okay, my mum's 5'11", so I ended up taller. But yeah, anyway, you shouldn't blame people. Blame yourself. Even if it's their fault you're short, too bad. They tried their best. Oh man, I hate this exercise. But you know, the Smith machine will be sick for shrugs. I love doing shrugs in the Smith machine. I probably could do shrugs, but it's just a little tight there. Like I have to force my arm straight. So I don't know, yeah, that's not a good idea just yet. Give me another month and I should be able to do most things. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Fuck. And my traps do not fucking grow, so probably just need more stimulus. Ooh. Yeah. Oh. All right, peace out, bye.